welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and this is Faithful Rattos. So, I don't know whether you can tell, but we rearranged the rat room / living room this week. It's been half term, so there's something exciting coming, and so I thought now was the time, whilst I had time since it's been half term, now was the time to do the rearranging. So we have done that. I'm going to do a tour, I guess, in a separate video, but just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. The cage is now here on this side of the room. This is where the radiator is there, and then over there we have the sofa and stuff, where the cage used to be. The reason being, right where I'm sitting, right here, there is going to be another cage for something exciting, and I'm not going to go any further into it because I'm going to make like a whole video like talking about the thing, because it's a really big deal to me and it's really exciting and important and special and everything. So I'm not going to say anything else, and I'm sorry to be one of those people who's like, I've got something exciting coming but I'm not telling you what it is yet. Sorry about that. In this video I thought I'd chat a little bit about why nuggets are not appropriate diets for rats. The reason being is I had a heated, I guess, conversation in TikTok comments about this the other day. Sinner's come to say hi. Sinner. So basically, when it comes to feeding ourselves, our pets, including our rats, we should be feeding with two things in mind. The first one being the nutritional value of the food. Is it meeting their needs? And the second one being, is it meeting their sort of behavioral, instinctual needs? That is really important too. Now, rats are opportunistic foragers, and in the wild they would eat whatever they came across, whether that be seeds, plants, fruits, veg, insects, meat, our leftovers, our waste, anything. They're opportunistic and they'll eat whatever they can find. And we need to replicate this in the way that we find them, not only in how we feed them, so scatter feeding, forage feeding, that sort of stuff, but also in the variety of food that they get. Feeding a nugget does not adequately fill that need, because it is the same food day after day after day after day. And the second thing when it comes to nuggets is we aren't able to, even if the nugget was nutritionally sound and great, we are not able to adapt a nugget if we see a need in our group that needs changing. For example, some bugs may need extra oils and fats in their diet in order to keep their coat in a good condition. Now, if you were feeding a nugget, you wouldn't be able to adapt your mix to suit that need. If you're feeding older rats that need a kidney-friendly diet, you wouldn't be able to adapt to suit their needs. But when it comes to a mix, we can do exactly that. I don't know what Sinner's trying to do. And that is the basis to why nuggets are not appropriate. It's not species appropriate in the way that they eat. And the second thing is, it doesn't allow them to be fed in an individual way. It doesn't allow us to suit and meet the needs that they have. He just used my head to climb down. So there are a couple of hang-ups that people have when it comes to mixes, and the main one being selective feeding. Now, I feel like this is a myth that was perpetuated by pet shops in the early noughties and 2010s. I know I fell for this when we first got our first rats, that if you feed them a mix, they can selective feed and then not have a balanced diet. Number one, rats are pretty smart at eating for their needs. Rats only really selective feed when they are being overfed. If you are ensuring that your rats are getting an appropriate amount of mix, which tends to be about 15 to 20 grams per rat, sometimes it can be higher, sometimes it can be lower, depending on the seasons, depending on your rats. If they're being overfed, they have the opportunity to selective feed. If they're being fed the appropriate amount for them to keep their condition well, they don't have they can't selective feed because of being hungry. They're not going to selective feed because they want to eat, you know? And then the other way that they won't selective feed is if you are scatter feeding them or forage feeding them. So if you're scattering it around the cage, you're using foraging toys, they're not going to selective feed because whatever they find, they're going to eat it straight away. I've never seen my rats being forage fed pick certain things out of the mix. They might go for the higher value stuff, but then as they go around, they just eat what they can find. They're not just going to throw it away. And I've never, once when cleaning out the cage, I've never had any waste left behind because there's a thing that they're not eating. And if that is the case, if you find there's a certain ingredient that your rats aren't eating, in my experience, my rats in the past didn't eat lentils. So I stopped putting them into the mix and I used a different ingredient. And then guess what? They stopped selective feeding. I don't think selective feeding is necessarily a reason to not feed a mix. I think it's kind of an excuse not to feed a mix. And when we're talking about nuggets, most nuggets aren't nutritionally appropriate, they aren't made of high quality ingredients, and here in the UK, our two biggest nugget brands, the original Pets at Home nuggets and the Burgess nuggets, anecdotally have a higher likelihood of causing tumours than other food. So all in all, the balance, not good. Those just are a few of my thoughts about nuggets and one of the most sort of common myths that is tossed around to say that feeding a mix isn't good. This filming felt really weird, so I'm sorry if this video was a little bit disjointed. I got a bit distracted by Cinna climbing down my head right in the middle. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. Do subscribe, leave me a comment if you have anything to add on this topic. And if you want to, you can become a channel member. I'll leave that with you and I'll see you in the next video.